Greetings, everybody, and welcome on into Tomes. Today, we will be continuing our discussion and reviewing of Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power on Amazon. But before we kick things off, Cody, is there anything that you wish to talk about before we begin?
Not a ton before kicking into the actual episode. I'm still just really excited for Percy Jackson for that series to come out the beginning of this next year, and so we'll probably be covering that.
I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah.
But real quick, because this is where we get to do our own advertisements, our plugins. We have created Patreon. We got our social media up and running. Oh my gosh, we got so many things. We are now on Spotify, so we can really reach everybody in our audience. Because I know a lot of people do YouTube and Spotify. Those are probably the most popular ones, and we got them both.
Oh my god! Also follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at, I believe it's Podcast Tomes.
And we'll see about getting more things up and running.
Yeah, we're beginning to get out there. We're getting stuff. We're beginning to plug away. We also do have a Patreon, which I could leave a link in below if you really want to help support this. Support this podcast. Selfish plugs here so we can get some money from this. I'm not greedy at all.
We promise to do dumb things as rewards.
Yeah, we got dumb things for rewards, and the main thing that we are reason why I stress the Patreon is then that way we can up our quality. I know I'm using a pretty good setup, but then this way we actually can get Cody a good, decent microphone audio interface, get him set up well, so that way his voice can come across a lot clearer. Don't get me wrong, Cody, your microphone is great.
It's a headset.
It's a headset. It still gets the job done, but yes, again, we just want to bring it up to... Yeah, we want to bring it to the next podcast level. So again, anything that goes into the Patreon, it's all going to go into increasing the production quality of this podcast.
One of the other things that we're looking to do eventually that I just want to bring up is if anybody has stories of their own that as part of the Patreon, we send them in and we can go through and pick out our favorites and we'll read those on certain days.
Absolutely, because again, the main thing that we want to stand with Tomes is the fact that we love storytelling. We just absolutely, and if anything, that's, I hope the thing you're noticing with us is whenever we do review Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, we're more focused on the storytelling that's trying to do and the way the characters are developed, because for us, our main love and our main passion is storytelling. And that's why we love the fantasy genre, because it tells some of our own favorite stories.
Exactly.
So we thought this would be a great medium, a great forum, so that way we can tell our stories. And in that way, as we build this community up more and more, we can start telling stories that we've read and just the stories that we love. And whether that be from professional authors like Brandon Sanderson, Patrick Rothfuss, to some minor authors that are just trying to get their name out. We would love to be able to be just a forum and a way for your story to get told and that could reach the masses. So that is kind of our overall mission statement and our overall goal with this podcast.
Yep. We may even throw in a few of our own stories for some fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely, because I know I got some stories I'm working on. Again, I've been working on like my own book series for a while, and I'm still working on it. I'm like still like 2-3 chapters in, and I'm going back through. It's like, no, I got to rework the entire thing, which actually, as I've been watching like some of Sanderson's podcasts, as he goes back there, he's like, yeah, no, I've rewritten my first chapters multiple times. I'm like, okay, so this is normal.
Yeah, I know, right?
Seriously.
Yep. I also have my own stories and things. I have a book series that I've been thinking of, and I have an outline for it all. I don't know if I'll ever in this life ever get to creating it or fully writing it out, and so those stories are going to be here.
Hey, if we get enough in the Patreon to where we could quit our actual jobs and just do this, we absolutely could write our stories.
I know, right?
Again, but that's neither here nor there currently. So, but with that, do you have any other remarks, anything you want to say before we dive into this episode?
We're just glad that you're all here, and as always, welcome to Tomes.
Alrighty, so We shall dive into episode 6. And oh man, it's finally stuff is happening in this episode.
Yes. I
Because if you look at the end of episode 4 and episode 5, you leave off at the exact same point.
Yeah, it's just build up all for this episode. This episode was really the fulcrum of everything.
Yes, absolutely. So, with this, how do you want to approach this? Should we just cover it kind of like segments, like, okay, as the show went on, like cover the segments as it went?
Yeah, my notes aren't as organized as usual, and I just
Hmm.
have it through chronological as my thoughts were going as I was watching the episode.
Yeah, same here.
I'm and so here's my part for the very introduction portion of it with I'm showing Adar or Adar, however you pronounce it, and then all of the orcs. They definitely look like goblins to me.
Oh,
It
yeah.
definitely gives that goblin feel rather than the actual orc feel.
Hmm.
And I the intro part was kind of, I don't know, it was a little iffy for me. I didn't really care for it very much. Where he basically is like, "We have our own trail of tears and brothers and sisters." I'm like, wait, there's female orcs now? Oh no, there's the people that came in with the villagers, but it didn't clarify that part of it, and I was just like, wait a second.
Hmm. And yeah, no, I feel the exact same way with the beginning where it was very much because even in my notes, I have like, what have the orcs endured? Like, they've been through trials. I thought all this was through their own volition. Like, they volunteered, they were part of Morgoth's army, they chose this. And I do like how later on in the episode they do clarify, but
Yes,
we needed more of kind of that buildup before the episode began. We needed, and if anything, that's actually the thing I kind of took away from this episode is that I wish we had, again, I think that's been, I think we've said this 100 times, that there just needs to be more of a buildup from this entire series with all these characters, and which honestly, towards the end of the episode, Adar is one of my favorite characters now.
I know, right? Okay, his acting is far better than pretty much anyone else's in this show,
Oh
with
my
a few
gosh, yes.
exceptions to me. But he does a fantastic job, and I really do enjoy his character. It's been one that's his character has had more character progression throughout this entire show than like half of the entire thing put together.
Oh no, I agree 100%. He has actually had character development, whereas a lot of the other characters really haven't. So that's why I'm like, I am more drawn to Adar than just about anybody else in this cast. But we'll definitely get to that more as we get towards the end of the episode.
Yes. So after his rousing speech, which to be fair, he did a good job of. It was just they chose really poor words for him to use.
Oh, dude. When we get to one scene, oh, they chose horrendous words, and I
I
can explain more in depth. I think I know.
Yeah,
I think you know what I'm talking about.
I'm pretty sure I do. But going on, so they get ready. Oh, comment I had, and this is just one of the things I noticed when he was giving that speech, but then later it looked like it wasn't there. It looked like he had the mark of Sauron imprinted on the side of his head, but then later on the episode it was just a single scar going down. It didn't have the two other lines
Huh?
on
I
there.
didn't notice that.
I am So I don't know if it was just the lighting or what, but that was something I thought, and then I took back because like no, I don't think it actually is. I
Hmm.
am So just if it ends up being that, then great. If not, then I'm seeing things, which is entirely possible with how little sleep I get.
I'm sorry, buddy. With school and being a parent, that's just rough.
And work.
Oh my gosh.
The
Okay.
trifecta. All right.
Welcome to adulthood.
I, I know, right? Um, so then they get so so after all that, they go over and they go marching to the fortress.
And they instantly walk up to the gate, like instantly, like no going up the winding path, just instantly, boom, they're at the gate.
I know they just walk straight up. And here's my two problems with what's going on here. My two
Hmm.
main problems. The first, like, there's no one here. We can't find anyone. And then it shows I am Arendir, and he's sitting next to a fire. I know it's on the other side of a wall, but does nobody know how light works? It will illuminate
Exactly.
an open area. Second thing,
I
the
know.
entire populace is on the other side of the hill. Did they not see their lights traveling over there? They have no idea how lumens work. None at all.
Seriously. Like, that is one of my notes is like, okay, first off, the fact that, okay, we'll get into the fight choreography in a sec, but just the logistics here. Just
Yes.
logistics. One, they walk straight up towards a fortress where that is going to be actually probably one of the best places to hold a fight
I know, right?
because there is one point of entry that they can just continuously fire on. In fact, that's what made the Battle of Helm's Deep so detrimental is the fact they like, we brought ladders so we can climb this wall.
Yep.
And that's what made it so scary, like so much of a battle where it was fight tooth and nail is because like we had to keep track of the ladders, kick down the ladders. We had orcs coming up through there, they were quite literally crawling over the walls, whereas here they don't got ladders, they got one place to go through. Best place to defend is that tower.
Completely and totally. The entire watch. I mean, they could have easily held them with all the things that they were using. I don't know. I
They
guess they
could have
did
set
make
up
more.
traps.
They could have.
And just that tower, in every respect, it felt small.
It
Like
did.
it did feel like an outpost, but still, it was a well fortified outpost. So then there's that. Then all of a sudden, it's like they go into this big old giant tower. They all go in there. They don't see a single soul, and then it shows that they're actually on their way. They're basically back at the village.
Yeah.
How the heck did they just disappear from hundreds and thousands of orcs in the middle of the night?
Exactly.
Like, did nobody just freaking see these humies walking down the path? Or did they take a side path? Just all of a sudden, boop, oh, we're back at the village.
Yeah. It doesn't. They don't clarify anything. They don't give you any idea of it. It's just we did this magically. We used swaps places.
We use fast travel. Like, that is kind of what I was getting. Is just like, boop, they're there. And
Yeah.
then, I'm sorry, bad choreography at the tower.
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh, it's just so funny because like there he is, and quite later he pops up. You see him then rack an arrow and then shoot. Like he's just like, oh, they found me, ha ha ha.
I know.
Instead of just would have been more cool if it was him arrow hit one of them. It's like there he is, and then he's just reloading.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And then the actual part of them taking down the tower, though. I mean, as much
That
as
was cool.
it was, it was, it was obvious CGI, and to a point where it's almost the comedic CGI that you
Yeah.
had in The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it still was cool. And then it shows that it wipes all of them out, and then none of them are wiped out.
Yeah, no, they have such an inconsistent number of troops
Yeah.
because even when they're going up to the tower, we see a huge line of lights
Hmm.
just going down that path.
And then they get up
Uh,
there, and
And
they all fit inside.
yeah, small little place, and then all of a sudden most of them die.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the number of troops is inconsistent, and it's very obvious as we're watching it.
It is. It's extremely obvious, and it's extremely frustrating because I know what they were going for with, like, when they come back and like, oh no, there's still a lot of them. But it was,
Mhm.
did any of them die? Because it looks about
Yeah,
the same amount, but you had him showed some of them getting crushed, and like they all got like a landslide wiping everything out. But then suddenly they just have everyone back and healthy. Is like, did he use a time stone?
seriously. Hadar's got the time stone, everybody. We're all good to go in there. Okay, so I think that covers that first opening sequence.
Yes.
Oh my, just dang.
All right, on to the water.
On to, oh my gosh. So the ships do not look big enough to hold a stable.
They don't.
They, it's just like, it looks like enough for like 10, 12 people, and then 10 or 12 people below deck. That's it. And yet we're supposed to believe that, oh, they actually have a full stable on this ship.
Although, to be fair, they do look very similar to like the Greek biremes and triremes, and those do have 2 or 3 decks, even though they look about the same. There's a lot under the water.
Yeah, but for a full-fledged stable,
I mean, yeah, dude,
I'd
I'm pulling them up
have to,
now.
yeah, pull it up.
Can't you fit a stable of horses on a bireme?
Like a traditional stable.
Boats were
It's called the,
used for effective means of transporting horses. I mean,
yeah, I just don't think they
yeah.
have enough room for a full-fledged stable, even looking at it. Looking at the design.
Yeah. And that's another one of those things where it doesn't really fit, but I don't know. That one honestly didn't bother me as much. It was a minor irritation when I first
Hmm.
saw it. But then my mind could just be like, well, I mean, people did transport horses on ships, and
They
they
did,
they had
but
this set. Like they were just using this as a set piece. There's this set
yeah,
piece, and then there's on top of the deck set piece. It's just, yeah.
yeah. But anyway, now again, other than the semantics of fitting horses on small ships,
Yeah,
freaking Galadriel in her armor at all times.
I know. Well, that's just a problem with this entire like series. The first time we meet the Numenorians, they're in full armor.
Yeah,
It's not their war armor, like the actual war armor they're wearing now, but they were wearing full armor. It just they don't they want it to look cool instead of being
practical.
yeah and
Uh,
survivable.
yeah, and then just Isildur fanboying over Galadriel, just like, oh my gosh, it's Commander. Like
Okay,
I'm
but
just like, oh my gosh, just chill, buddy.
they have everybody fangirl over him.
Over her, yeah,
Over her, sorry.
frick, yeah, no, I'm just like, really? Everybody is fanning out over Galadriel.
And we'll get to that scene later, but
Yeah, we'll get to that, especially like after the battle. Anyway,
so there's that point where she said, or he's like, I want to see the earth, or she says that you came up here to see the land first, and she goes, you'll see it soon. He goes, oh, you can already see it with your elf eyes. And and I know that the world is different, but the only reason humans can't see past the ridge, the past where we can with the like on water, is because it's over the curve of the earth.
yes,
And while I understand that the middle earth is different, it's still a half sphere and then a flat side, which means they still have the curvature, which means she wouldn't be able to see it
yeah,
because it's
no,
not there yet.
like at a certain point, we hit the same max distance because there's literally nothing after that.
And so I understand they're trying to use the I can see it with my elf eyes, but use it in a setting that actually works. Not
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
one. We don't believe in the flat Earth theory. I'm sorry. I'm not a
I
flat
don't think Middle Earth is flat either. I think that thing is curved.
Can you put a picture up of Middle Earth?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll put up a picture. Actually, if not just of Middle Earth, but all of Arda, I believe. I believe Arda is the name of the planet.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll throw up a picture. But yeah, no, it's actually pretty big. It looks like two kidney beans with the little land in between.
Oh, okay. Hold on. In canonical versions, the Earth was created flat. So it was created flat and changed to round as a cataclysmic event during the Second Age in order to prevent direct access by men to Valinor. But then so that's the original thing. Right now, what's taking place, is it the Second Age or Third Age?
Second Age.
So, okay. according to the canon, it is flat at this point, but there is
Oh
a
my.
round world version,
Okay,
which is in the
so
Silmarillion. All right, I take it back.
so Arda is flat. It's a flat Earth. Arda's flat. Okay, so technically, then, yeah, she could see it theoretically.
There we go. I guess I now believe in the flat Earth theory, guys. My mind's
Not
been
flat Earth.
changed.
Flat Arda. It's flat
Flat
Arda.
Arda or Florida.
Welcome to Florida. The things we learn.
I know, right?
See, this is why we're not Tolkien scholars, just so that again, we're entertainment first, accurate second.
Story of my life.
Okay, so other beef I have is again Galadriel's tone in all of this. It is the exact same tone in all of this. When she is talking to Isildur, it is like the same pitying tone, pitying and condescending tone.
Yep.
When the words itself, honestly, they don't sound condescending, but her tone does.
Yes.
Because he's just like, okay, I haven't seen you swing the sword around. Like, what's your position? And he's like, stable master. Like, honestly, in my mind's eye, the way I saw that scene going down, preceding those lines, I have the Lord of the Rings Galadriel in my mind, where she just kind of looks down, kind of smiles, gives a light little chuckle, and goes, even the humblest of jobs has great influence on the overall outcome.
Yep.
I heard it more with a smile, not with the not even the humblest of jobs. Like, I'm just like, dude, like Galadriel, freaking crack a smile, be humble, be human, like have have humanity.
Yeah. And we don't mean that as be human race.
Yeah, mean have some humanity, have some emotion, which it seems like you're lacking.
Yes.
And actually, this was an interesting development with Isildur for me. Is the first time we actually see Isildur talk bad about Numenor.
Yes.
And honestly, I wish we had more build up with Isildur really struggling with the ideology of Numenor on what it has become.
Yeah, because before it was just I want to leave. That was it. I want to leave. I want to go west. My brother went west. That's it.
Yeah, like honestly, I think we needed a scene where it is Isildur and his family sitting around talking, and Isildur getting up in anger, just like, "Is this the Numenor you told me about? Is this the noble human race that we fought alongside the elves, and this was given a gift to us? Is this the same group of people that was deserving of Numenor?" Having that kind of background, having that kind of passion, that would have made made us go, oh, Isildur is rooting for humans. He wants to be good and honorable.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the things that he does would then have made sense.
Exactly. Just us having that kind of confrontation scene with his dad. And then that way we can even get into more depth with his dad, saying, look, we can't do anything right now. We need to bide our time. Unfortunately, this is the Numenor we have.
Yeah.
And then it builds that family closer. We get to know more on like the ins and outs of Numenor, the overall political climate, the overall climate of Numenor itself, instead of what we got. Like, this is garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything could have been done so much better by adding one extra scene here or one extra scene there, just explaining it and not telling us, but showing us. If they just showed us these things, it would have made it so much better.
Yes, show us these characters' passions. So show us these characters' backstories. Show us their trauma. Show us how they cope. Show us their ideology. Show us all of that. Don't just say, "Oh, yeah, Numenor isn't as good as it once was." What was it? What was it that Isildur grew up with, saying this was the ideal Numenor that my mother, my father taught me? Like, show us it. Like, that's what we're missing. But Yeah, we just needed more emotion out of Isildur, kind of a backstory on what really led him to hate Numenor on what it was instead of what it is currently instead of what it was.
Yes.
Okay. And then I thought it was funny that Galadriel is now defending Numenor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was odd.
Was very odd for Isildur going, I just wanted to get away from Numenor. It's not what it used to be. And Galadriel's like, aha, well, I like it. And I was just like, well, now you like it because you have sway, you have influence. It's now they're your pawns.
Yeah, because you bullied your way into controlling things.
Correct. And then I put in my notes, when Elendil comes up, he looks so uncomfortable in his armor. Like
Yes.
the armor looks like it's 2 sizes too big.
Yeah. It does. It looks a little odd.
Like it looks like honestly, I'm pretty sure you can see this with your kids, but it's like if you put like a huge sweater on like Liam on your kid
Yep.
and their arms are just like dangling out to the side, that's what Elendil looks like. He just looks so uncomfortable, like sleeves are too long or it's a little too big. It's just uncomfortable.
Yep.
And then the whole thing is just like, oh, Galadriel's just like, oh, you haven't told me much about your wife. Then he deflects on just saying, yes, I used to believe that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, but now whenever I look, I just see darkness. She drowned. Just like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm not gonna lie. I actually I didn't really care for the deflection, but at the same time, often when someone's portraying in shows that they're having a hard time, that it's a hard topic for them, they'll focus on something else real quick.
Yeah, no, like, again, the deflection made sense to me on just like he doesn't want to talk about it, but
Yeah.
leave it as he doesn't want to talk about it instead of she drowned.
Yeah. I can see
Like,
that.
make the deflection bigger. Like, say just like, you know what? My wife did used to love sailing out into the seas, and I just remember the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. And I remember looking at the western horizon, hoping to see her come home.
Hmm.
One day that didn't happen. She drowned. Boom. Deflected, kind of told a story about it, and let them know.
My only reason that I kind of disagree
Okay.
with how you do it is because I think that shows too much emotion from him. He's
Hmm.
more stoic. He's stoic or he'll crack a joke. He's not like he's not the type to just really get emotional about things. If you see
Okay.
through that, I haven't seen him really be that emotional unless he's with his kids.
Yeah.
And so he was showing any emotion in the sense of I don't know. I actually really liked his speech about my entire life I've seen the sun rising over water and set over land, and now I'm seeing it rise over water. It feels like it's going into the night.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
honestly, I really enjoyed it. But I also just really enjoy Lloyd Owen. He's the actor who plays Elendil.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's a really good actor, and I enjoy him.
Okay.
I so I'm biased, and I know that,
It's all good. Okay.
but I have it playing right now in the background. Just
It's
I
all good.
just redoing it.
So now I believe we finish up with them on the water. And now we go back to Arendir, who is just wailing on the sword with the hammer.
Yeah. Okay. You got me started on this.
Go for it.
This freaking idiot. Arendelle is one of my favorite characters in this show. This freaking idiot doesn't even try and heat it up. He
I
goes
know.
smashing it with a hammer until the hammer breaks against something that's forged steel, and then goes, "Nope, it's impossible. No elf could ever do this. We're
I
we're
know.
far beyond our capabilities. I'm an expert on blacksmithing. I know exactly what I'm doing. Nothing could have. No, we couldn't do anything with this. Are you kidding me?"
I had the exact same nose. I'm like, really? You did try a little bit of heat, Really?
You're
Or
literally hammering cold steel.
and even still, like they did show like a fire burning in the background. It's like, seriously, spend okay, you know what? You guys are a huge fan of your slow-mo shots. Slow-mo him putting it in fire, him taking it out of fire, then him wailing on it. Rinse and repeat, and show that it will not break even when heated. Well, bam, they got their slow-mo shot. And oh my gosh, it was just I'm just like, really? Really? Aaron dear, at this point, I don't trust you with my equipment.
I know, right? You know nothing. Man, I lost so much respect for him right there. I know it's not his fault, but at the same time, I just
It's just
no.
bad writing. It is so bad writing.
It's such bad writing. It made me so mad. I was so ready to just chuck something.
Oh no, I was with you, man. I was with you. Uh, and and then okay, the entire line is like when they actually did come from a point of tactical advantage to their village where they can actually be surrounded.
I know. There's there is nothing. It's literally deciding to go from Helm's Deep back to the capital, which the entire capital is susceptible.
It's going back to Rohan. It's seriously going
Yeah.
back to Rohan.
What's the capital of Rohan? I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, I
That's
can't remember either.
I'm looking it up. Capital of Rohan. Edoras. It's literally going from Helm's Deep back to Edoras and saying we are better off here in this completely open area that can easily be surrounded as opposed to a walled, fortified fortress
With one bridge to
with one
get
bridge.
in and out.
So, here's something that I noticed throughout this entire episode.
Okay.
All of it is rip-offs from the Two Towers.
Oh, absolutely.
This entire episode is literally taking those things and saying, "Oh no, we're doing it original," but it's literally ripping it off in a worse way.
It is. It really is. Then then the entire line is like, we have an advantage, but we must have the enemy close. I'm like, that's not an advantage. That's a disadvantage.
It's completely
An advantage is when you can pick them off from a distance.
yeah,
You do an ambush when you have a place to fall back to and you can just keep on doing guerrilla warfare. Like, start the ambush, retreat back, go back to the walls, attack from the walls. Again, all this is to have a point of advantage. The ambush is to initially do a huge detrimental attack on their numbers.
yep,
Then you lead them to the wall where that's where they're going to go and attack. And then you fight from the wall and pick their numbers off one by one by one by one.
yep,
Like, it's just their entire thinking of tactic makes no sense.
yeah. It's so I'm going back to the Book of Mormon.
Okay, go for it.
Alma chapters. There's the section where Moroni he comes up with all these different stratagems. And my personal favorite that he does that I feel applies here is they had a significantly smaller force than the enemy did. And so he put his army, he split into three parts. He had two larger sections that he had hidden. And he had a third, which is the smallest, that he had go and lure the enemy and then ran past the two, like where the ambush was set, had them run past. They go through and then they ambush them. And so they turn to fight those guys. The other group comes back and attacks them. And so they were surrounded on three sides. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how they did it.
Yes.
And it was using actual strategy, it was using actual things as opposed to let's get them as close as possible. We need to see the whites of their eyes and then fire our muskets. I mean, wait, we only have bows and swords. This is a really bad idea.
Yes. Like, this is where if they had cannons, if they had explosives, okay, you know what would be a little bit better. Like, honestly, if it was what is it? Magnificent Seven.
Yeah,
Magnificent Seven, they use basically the strategies they were trying to implement in this episode of Rings of Power would have worked in Magnificent Seven, where it is a small town.
exactly. They're using modern day battle strategies in a medieval setting and they don't correlate.
They don't. Because even the explosive they try to use with the carts, that's more like you're going to hurt them, you're not going to kill them.
No, and it's not even really a like it's not stopping them, and they instantly kick through it and go past it. It's just like this. It was a dumb idea to begin with. There is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. But going to backtrack a little bit now
Okay.
before we get back more to the tactics of all this.
Okay.
Uh, I feel like they really needed to build Theo and Bronwyn's relationship as mother and son.
Yes.
Like, I feel like even if at the beginning of this episode, it was a kind of a flashback to when Theo was a kid and he did have those nightmares, and Bronwyn sitting there telling him all this.
Yeah.
And then we get to the part where he's just like, Mom, what was it that you told me before whenever I had a nightmare? And then her sitting down and retelling it that way. Just even that little bit would have helped so much. Just because I don't really feel like this is a mother-son relationship.
Yeah. They
It
they
it
don't feel like they're related.
They don't feel like they're related, not until you get further into this episode, we're like, "Okay, I can kind of feel the familial love."
Yes. Towards the
We
end of
needed
it.
Yeah, towards the end of it, we needed that earlier. We needed that honestly, we needed that within the first couple episodes.
I agree. Although I am chalking this up to a child actor.
Like,
He
actually,
does. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, actually, Theo, the actor who plays Theo, I thought he did a really good job, and the choices that his character goes through makes sense for his character. And I feel like he did a good job. I just think the
Yes.
chemistry between mother and son is not there.
I agree, but I also think that Theo, that his lines, the way his delivery of everything is a little awkward,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm losing some of that chemistry and losing those things. Is he's not putting the right emotion things, and it's because he's not used to it.
Hmm.
I would do an even worse job. I know that. But it's that thing of he's trying, he's doing the best he can, and he's doing a good job, especially for a child actor. But it's
Hmm.
still that thing of that's what I chalked a lot of that inconsistency and that I'm lack of connection to was his acting.
Okay. Let's say for me, I really have never really heard the lines between him and his mother that much. I think there was a couple in the second episode, and then that was kind of it.
The first episode had the most, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
because it's right before the orc kind of attacks their house.
Yeah, was that a second episode?
I think that was second episode.
Oh, you're probably right. Those two blend together because they release them at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that there was the actual type of thing where they're mother and son and all that, and even then it felt off to me.
Yeah.
But I, at the same time, that's still what I've always chalked it up to is just that. But I
Hmm.
understand what you're saying, and I think that is probably a more accurate sum of it. That it's just there's no chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, which there needs to be more chemistry. And then and actually that whole speech, that is actually something I found very good is Bronwyn has actually said something in the show that no one else has. She
Yeah,
has said something hopeful,
yeah. I
something about
really,
going towards the light, being part of it, making right choices. She is the one of the first people to ever say something like that.
yeah. She was honestly that speech was my favorite one. I
Mhm.
am. There was a speech in actual Lord of the Rings in this movies that it reminded me of, and I can't remember what it is now. But
Is it by
oh,
Sam or Gandalf?
it's the one by
'Cause
Sam.
yeah, I know which one you're talking about, and I
Yeah,
love that speech at the end of Two Towers.
yeah. It was just powerful, and it was one of the few times I've really felt the emotion from the show, and I felt, like I said, hopeful, and it felt like this is what I've been looking for. This is the Lord of the Rings I was hoping for.
Exactly, and I felt like that is what this entire show has been missing,
Hmm.
is that Bronwyn has actually finally said something hopeful. I was like, "You know what? I can rally with her. I can rally with that thinking."
Yeah,
and and then I think they also just kind of needed to delve more into like the elven lore, the elven philosophy and theology, because they did talk about, and we see in the opening scene with Adar burying the seeds, and then we see that again with Erendir of him burying some of the seeds.
Mhm.
I feel like we needed more of that elven lore to really appreciate this. Don't get me wrong, we still do appreciate this, but doesn't have like it could have had more impact.
It could have. It could have been done, definitely done better. I am, and I understood, but it was one of those where I understand what you're going for and I understand what I'm supposed
Mhm.
to feel, but I don't feel it.
And actually, what's funny is he's talking about a Valar who is kind of about agriculture.
Hmm.
So I looked it up. The Valar's name is Yavanna. His nickname the Nourisher. The funniest part in all of it is we've kept on hearing the dwarves say Owlie's beard. It's Owlie's wife. So I was like, oh, that is so fitting. The dwarves worship the husband, the elves worship the wife. Oh,
There we go.
which is
That's
like
funny.
that makes sense. Like that would make sense.
Yeah, no, it does. That's actually really funny.
Yeah, yeah. Again, her name is Yavanna, also
Mhm.
named as the Nourisher. And again, the romance between Arendir and Bronwyn, it's not bad. I felt like honestly, they should have honestly everything that's happened, this should have been 2 seasons worth.
Yeah.
Whereas the second season is where we actually start getting into Bronwyn, Arendir, everything that's happening in the Southlands. That's where we should have been getting more of that. Whereas the first season, they could have then developed more into the politics of Numenor and done some of the bigger moves and plays that happened in Numenor in the first season.
Hmm.
Then that way we could really build up and go, oh, this is not the Numenor that Isildur grew up with.
Yeah.
And then it would bleed beautifully into this, and we could have also gotten more of Adar's backstory. We could have gotten more of the orcs blight. We could have gotten more of what they were going through, to where Adar's speech in the beginning could have made sense then.
Yeah.
And so now I think that's all the notes I have leading up to the actual fight. Do you have any other comments, notes before
I
we get
have
into the fight?
one thing, and it's that so the intro and a few of the other songs, I don't know if all of them are, but they're directed by Howard Shore,
Okay.
the same one who does the music for the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy.
Hmm.
I am the part. So I was like, as you're talking and stuff, I was just having this play in the background, and the music started playing through once she gives the speech, and it's the music. The music feels like Lord of the Rings. The music finally brings it all together, and it gives the same feel that the Lord of the Rings had, and that's a big part of what I love. And I still listen to some of the soundtracks from Lord of the Rings randomly.
Oh
I
yeah,
s-
no,
I
same
en-
here.
I enjoy the music, and I enjoyed that part of it. That it just the music combined with her words made it so great. And this episode just has had better. The music has felt better used than some of
Hmm.
the others. But yeah. So that was just my last note.
Yeah,
The
no,
the
I
battle.
agree. I agree with the music because a lot of times, in my mind's eye, if the scene feels emotional and it has music into it, but you really didn't, in my mind's eye, if I didn't pay attention to the music and I feel that emotion, the music did its job.
Exactly.
If the music does not distract from the situation.
Like earlier in episode 3 or what during the whole like it's supposed to be sad but it's dramatic or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's where
gosh.
they didn't use it right. The track
No.
itself was good, but they didn't use it right. And that's the problem. But here they
Yep.
used it right. It went well. Great lead up to the battle.
Like great motivational speeches. Like finally, we have a semi motivational speech.
Yes.
Okay. Now to the tactics. First note I have, and it's actually all in caps, is they were like making the whole big deal. It's like the bridge, the bridge, the bridge. It's like they can walk around the bridge. There is no river. There is nothing. It's quite literally a bridge that goes over two smaller hills.
I know.
They can walk around it. Like the bridge is not like tactically helpful.
It's really not. It's not. And it just yeah.
And then yeah, all the way till I do have the ones we actually get into the one-on-one with Arendir fighting the orc.
Hold up
We've
before that. Go ahead.
we've I would say we've already covered all the notes I had. There's like not enough barricades. You want to keep as far back as possible. Oh yeah, because the keep is the tavern.
Yeah.
You
This
want to keep that sucker as far as away as you can. You want that to be the last line of defense.
okay. So here's my note with this. The knowledge of the orcs and their knowledge of the townspeople here, the orcs' knowledge of the townspeople, is very inconsistent.
Oh yeah.
How do they know that? I mean, they're going through and they're checking the different houses originally, but then they know the tavern is where we need to go and bring a battering ram to break down the door when none of the other doors are secure. Why are like they just formed up on a battering ram to go take down this one door that they're not even surrounding? Like they're not falling back to this point yet. There's no indication that the tavern is where they're supposed to go.
Huh. I didn't think about that.
Like literally, they're still in the houses all around it. They're let's see here. Yeah, they're on the houses all around. They're not focused on the tavern in any way, shape, or form. They're not centered on the tavern. It's behind everything, and that's behind their lines and all that. But it's not the focus of anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's and so just because it's the largest building, that's what they go for, and they bring a battering ram to break down a door that they don't know is locked.
Well, to be honest, that's when the fighting actually started. I didn't see them notice them picking up the battering ram until Arendir is taking sniping shots from the top of the tavern.
Okay.
So that's where maybe for them they're like, oh, if he's up there, that's probably the line of that's probably going to be the last line of defense. I could see him, therefore barricading it so that way it would be tougher to get up to him. Like that one I could kind of work around ish a little
That's
bit,
fair.
but
That's fair.
for me, it's more on the facts like where did they get the battering ram?
I know they didn't have it with them when they walked in.
They didn't have it with them. Where did they get it?
They didn't have it when they broke through the line of fire.
The only thing I could possibly think of is like only way this could work is if one of the lines of fire had that with it, and they're like, "Oh look, big old chunk of log. Let's do this." Huzzah!
I know, right? Hold on. I'm playing this part right now. They're about to grab the bat. Nope, they have it with them as they walk through the fire.
Okay.
So where did they get it? I am pulling this up because I want to see if they walk in with it because I did not see it when they first walked in.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know I'm taking longer than we need to because of this, but
Dude, it's fine. Like this is where we're trying to make sure we give credit where credit is due, even if it's bad credit.
exactly. Okay. Nope. They walk in holding it. They have the
Jeez.
battering ram. So
They're
if
just
you
like, all right, we got it.
if you go to the 21-minute and 30-second mark, they're walking across the bridge and they have the battering ram with them.
So they had it. They had it pre-prepared.
They even have a close-up shot of it before they right after they cross the bridge.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I'm just completely oblivious before then.
Oh no, just because I didn't pay attention to that either. So again, this is why we ask the questions and then we look through and try to see if they did do their research.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else
Okay,
before we
hold
get
up.
to Andrew's 1v1?
Yes. I just
Okay.
saw this part again. It's super hilarious. After the first one goes, I do like this. This is a positive for me. After the first wagon goes full of fire, one of the orcs looks over and goes, "The bleeding fools missed us. Smash."
Okay, yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
was
It
like,
was funny. I
okay,
was just like, don't get me wrong, I don't think it'd kill him, but it would hurt.
yeah. It's just absolutely hilarious that they did that.
I was like,
And
okay, they did try to make a funny moment out of this. Okay, I can appreciate that.
one thing I do have a question about though is how did none of the houses catch on fire? The ground
I
is all lit on
know.
fire, but the houses aren't,
Houses are perfectly secure.
even though they're made of thatch.
Seriously, those suckers should have been lit up.
They grow up like a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thatch is so flammable. It's very warm though.
It's true. I One thing I do want to mention of him sniping on the roof. This is where his archery skills are a lot better. He does
Yes.
the cuts with it and everything. He just goes shot after shot and does a really good job. And I was very impressed by it. I thought it was done really well.
Yes, this is where I'm like, okay, Aaron Deere is definitely supposed to be the Legolas of the series.
He is. I am just before the 1v1, he gets thrown off the roof.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he is actually hurting from it.
Oh yeah, no, the entire fight with Aaron Deere fighting like fisticuffs, they
Yeah.
did a phenomenal job. I think they did
Yes.
fantastic because he he's not coming out on top. He is getting hurt. He's getting wounded and he is using his surroundings to his advantage. Like I went through and rewatched that fight scene like 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
because I absolutely loved how he grabbed the piece of wood, stabbed it into his leg, stabbed it into his knee, kicks the knee. Like this is a man who's just like, let's weaken the knee, weaken his footing so I could have an advantage. That was very well thought out.
Yeah,
Then what
it was.
proceeds was not really very well thought out.
One of my favorite things is when he's in the middle of the fight, he does like that spin kick and
Yeah.
and then instantly he just gets slugged in the face and he's just like, oh crap, I'm done.
Oh yeah, dude, that made me think of like Never Back Down.
Yes,
That made me think
exactly.
of that one scene where the one dude is like doing all these flips, doing all these
Flips.
tricks, and then the dude just comes like, yeah, right. Poof.
Supermans him and knocks him out.
Yeah, that was the vibe I was getting. It's like, aha, elf gymnastics, orc fist.
Yep. It was well done. It was very entertaining.
Very entertaining. And then we get to the part where he's trying to stab Aaron Deer's eye out.
This part for me, I actually have a problem with.
Okay, I have a
So
problem, so I'm curious what yours was.
I think it's unnecessarily gory.
That was my issue too. It was so unnecessary gory. How the eye is just bleeding so profusely.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just needed one quick and that was it.
Yeah, I understand wanting to make it realistic because people ask for realistic, but then they don't do realistic on other things because this is fantasy. But then this, we're going to make it really gory because Game of Thrones is gory. So we're going to throw in something unnecessarily gory that just detracts from the rest of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It did build the suspense, but I'm more like, ew, this is gross.
Yeah. And I have no
And
problem with gore. I have no problem with like seeing something like I am Saving Private Ryan or in I am Black Hawk Down. There's a scene in Black
mhm,
Hawk Down where the grenade goes off next to him and it shows literally his legs are missing, his guts are hanging out.
yeah.
That didn't bother me because it fit. It was hard to see, but supposed to be hard to see. This was done simply just to be the gross factor. And
Yeah,
it
this one
didn't have
was
a
very much
place.
like they were twisting that knife into grossness.
Yeah. I didn't care for it. I don't feel like it added to it. I think having like the blood dripping on his face and showing just like the splotches adding onto it, I think that would have been enough. You didn't have to keep cutting back 3 times to his eye gushing out blood.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially since they sat there and lingered on it for like 3 seconds. And it's just this fight would have been over in those 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So
And then the glory of what happens after just cuz it is so bad, it's funny.
it is. It is. Oh,
When
go ahead.
I was gonna say, then we cut to Bronwyn saving him by stabbing the orc through the neck. Who, by the way, Bronwyn is not tall enough to make that attack. The camera literally pans down to her at her highest point, holding the sword up, and it's nowhere close. I stopped and showed Megan this. She's just like, "What the heck?" And for me, I was like, they could have done this so much better. They could have had her go up, slash the back of the dude's knee. He buckles, boom, had them put at the same level, and then she decapitates them. That would have been so much better instead of knife through the back of the neck. That would have required a tall downward trajectory. And then you see a little girl.
I didn't even notice that the first time through, and I just watched it again, and oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Like, dude, it's an entire 2 feet shorter. Like, the camera literally has to pan down.
That's so funny.
It's so funny and so bad. Like, she is not tall enough to make that kind of attack. If she was on horseback, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But we're talking like what, a 5'8" girl trying to stab like a 6.5 to 7 foot tall orc in the neck?
At least, so if you look at it, he's a full head and something taller than Arendir is.
Reindeer.
Arendir is looking about 6 foot.
Yeah, so he's probably 6.5 to like
So
7 feet tall.
he's looking 7 to 7.5. A full head is about his head looks bigger than most. He's looking about 7.5 feet tall. I'm talking about the orc, not
Yeah.
Arendir. Just everybody.
Okay.
All right, so I'm guessing that orc was probably about 7.5 feet tall, and she
Yeah.
stabbed it through the neck.
2 feet. 2 feet difference. Have you seen a short girl try to jump 2 feet? Like, it's not possible. That entire attack was not possible. What should have happened is and this would have been a better badass move. Her go up, slice the back of the dude's leg, which Arendir, by the way, has wounded.
Yes, he has.
He goes down to his knees, which make him about her level in height, and then she could decapitate him.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! More badass move, more aesthetically pleasing and accurate.
Yep.
But no, quick stab through the neck on a 2 foot taller orc than she could reach, even with her arms up.
It's wonderful.
Like, good criminy.
Oh man, that was that was bad. Let's see, what else do I have written for this part? Oh, one of the things I noticed, they only have one audio that they use anytime anybody gets stabbed or cut.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
always exactly the same.
Yeah, no,
And
actually,
Go ahead.
no. I was gonna say, coming from the audio engineering side, even when I was doing my course and going through Wise, the audio implementation software for video games, you always want to at least have 3 to like 6 different variations of the same sound effect. So that way it doesn't sound the exact same every single time.
Yep.
Like, and honestly, that is something very easy to do because, okay, yeah, any gore noise you hear, honestly, they're destroying a vegetable.
Yeah.
Like my favorite to do, because again, I've done this. This was my 10th cycle project, is just destroying bell peppers. Just go and just dive your fingers in there and rip.
Yeah.
Like, it is so satisfying. It's a satisfying sound, but that's how you get a lot of the gore sounds.
So yeah, but that's the thing, is that it's not the gore sound that they do; it's the blade sound. It sounds more like a blade sliding across this whetstone than going
Yeah.
into somebody.
Which, honestly, take a knife, stab into a vegetable. Like, this is where they needed a bit better sound department
Yeah, they did.
in regards of they needed multiple sound effects. This is where they needed more Foley artists in this instead of just going through a sound library,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure is what they did. And don't get me wrong, they also have a lot of cool plugins for knife sounds.
Yeah.
And you can add variations to it, save it, then export it.
Yeah. and obviously that's your side of everything, but just because you
It's
had
my
sent me
area of
those videos,
expertise.
yes, but you had sent me those videos to watch and to listen and to review for you,
Hmm.
and just being able to hear that side of things, my mind like starts looking for those things now.
Hmm.
And this is one of those times where I haven't noticed, like, it's literally a shk, 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 and that it's literally that's it. Sometimes they'll
Hmm.
have a little bit of a gore sound with it, but oftentimes it's just the blade going shh, and it
Hmm.
just doesn't it it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
A knife, a little 3-inch dagger should not make the same sound that a full 2.5 foot
Broadsword.
blade stabbing through someone makes. It just shouldn't.
No, I agree. Like, it needs to be smaller. It needs, like, honestly, I'm sorry, they have the equipment. Like, this should not be hard,
Especially with their budget.
especially with their budget. Are you kidding me? I
I
would
can I
charge for
give us the money, we'll do a better job.
basically.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Then after the
yes.
fight, I have like the climactic win. Climactic.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, I can see like that, like climactic win. I can kind of see it, but it's very like wasn't very like boom, and then it turns.
Well, so you know what this battle is. If you relate this directly to the two towers, what battle would you consider this to be?
Hmm. Definitely, I would lean more towards Helm's Deep ish. Actually,
This is the battle against the wargs to me.
yeah. Okay.
And a big part of that is after the battle, they're checking all those people, and then he goes and there's that orc that's only half dead, and he grabs him exactly the same as Legolas, and he talks to him the same way, and then he dies.
Hmm.
It's literally just ripped straight from there. It's another
Yeah.
time. This is that middle battle. They just have it in the same location that they have the final battle, which comes up after.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and I did like the symbology of like, oh, they turn and they find out they're fighting their own.
Yes, I did like that part. I thought that was really well done. Or
Yes.
that's what they did. I It was just that orc scene where they talked to him that it was a little bit too much rip off for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Oh yeah. No. Honestly, now I'm looking at it, I was like, oh my gosh, you can do like a 1-for-1 comparison.
You can. That's literally I literally have it written down. Stole from Two Towers again.
They're hey, at least they're taking inspiration from what was successful.
It's true, but it was good because it was original.
Exactly.
You don't have to rip it off one for one. You could do it different.
Yeah. And honestly, this is where again then the orc ambush and I'm like the orcs tactics are
Mhm.
orc like.
Yes.
Like as I was even thinking through, it's like, yeah, no, they would again, people who came on their own, yeah, for the first wave attack, let them go in, prove
I
themselves.
I agree with that. I think that was beautifully done.
Like that was a true, honest orc tactic, and that's where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm like, I'm liking these orcs now, is because now they're acting more like orcs. They're
Yes.
being a little bit more brutal. They're more showing their true colors,
Yep.
and I will give them major, major credit. I loved the whole arrow treatment scene.
Yeah.
That was spot on.
Yep.
From how to properly remove the arrow to cauterizing the wound.
Hmm.
My only beef I had is after they did all of this, like, oh no, is she dead? They didn't check her pulse. That would have been an easy answer. Check the pulse, check her breathing. She did not have to wake up. Let her rest. Because that
So,
would be what any I'm gonna say medieval surgeon would say is let her rest. She lost a lot of blood.
and that's one of the things that I have marked down as well, where when she like almost randomly just wakes up screaming, that's how they know that she's alive.
Mm-hmm.
I literally put, I don't think that works the way they think that works.
It
She's
was
not
like
going to wake up for a while. She would not wake up for over a day due to blood loss and then the exhaustion, all those things. there is literally no way that she would be awake.
Oh yeah, no, she would be out cold. That's where honestly they're like accuracy, 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 way out the window. Like they are like, okay, we did that right. Accurate, accurate, accurate. Okay, now for
Yep,
dramatic. Now for drama.
exactly. And so it was
like
just a
like if
little
they
bit.
had her do a big breath and then she is just at that point in deep sleep, that would have been good. That would have been accurate.
Yeah.
Just like the whole something along those lines. Not exactly don't we need to hear her snoring, but just just a big old breath in and then her to sleep.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I am. There's another part in here that's another ripoff from the Two Towers. Oh yeah, the cavalry come in from these,
The
and
writing montage.
yeah, it's another ripoff from from the Two Towers when they come in over the hill and save the day
Huh.
at the very end of the battle.
No wonder I thought it was cool. Because
It
it's
was
like the
cool.
whole writing montage was cool. I was like, oh, no wonder I thought it was cool. It was a rip off of Two Towers.
Well, this part it's more a ripoff of Return of the King where they're on flat
Yeah.
ground, but
Hmm.
it's the actual montage is from Return of the King, but the idea of coming at the last minute to save the day, um, and
Yeah, that
actually
is
save the day and not have a huge battle afterwards is
yeah, that is Two Towers. That is
yes.
100% Two Towers.
So that's what it came down to for me. But this is the thing that I'm kind of conflicted about. So right while they're charging in, they all come in and then they easily overwhelm everyone and they don't just kill them. I understand they're looking for the sword. But
Would they
eh,
know about the sword?
yes,
You're talking
yes
about
they
the
do.
orcs. You talked about the orcs. Okay,
The
sorry. I thought you
orcs.
were talking about the Numenorians.
No, no, no. Sorry. While the Numenorians are still riding it before they get there,
Okay.
I am the orcs come in and they overwhelm everyone, and then they're just instantly like, okay, I'm gonna put a blade, I'm gonna slide it, swing it down like I'm about to cut her head off, and just stop. There was no need for that. It's drama. It's just drama. And then I understand
Hmm.
that he's asking for it, but
Like,
it's just plot armor for characters that he didn't instantly kill the woman.
oh
That
yeah,
he didn't
no,
kill Bronwyn.
yeah, no, actually, I have something similar. For me, I was just like, why didn't they just burn down the tavern?
Yeah,
Like, why not just straight up burn it? Because boom, that'd kill everybody inside. You can then search the town at your leisure for the sword.
yeah.
Why not just burn it?
So he could find out where it is, but he
As
could have
but
just looked for it.
yep, he could have burned down the tavern and started looking for it. Like that would have been an answer. That would have killed everybody and bam.
Yeah,
That
and
would
we know
no,
that fire doesn't destroy. Oh wait, we don't know fire doesn't destroy it because he didn't try.
exactly. So even with that, then comes in a very dramatic scene, plot armor, use the woman as a hostage
Yeah,
situation. Which this is where again I give Theo
I do
credit.
give I give Theo credit here. This is the moment I started liking Theo more.
Yes, this is where I'm like, you know what? Theo is going through his redemption arc right now, and he is doing pretty good.
Hmm.
He is in character. He is trying to protect his mother. He's willing to give up the sword to protect his mother.
Yep.
And that's where I was like, that is good.
Yeah, I thought he did. I honestly, I had no problem with Theo's character here whatsoever. He acted great. He did a great job of it all, and he genuinely is sorry. He doesn't want to give it to him, but he'd rather have his mom be alive.
Yes. And that's where I'm like, okay, we found a redeemable trait in Theo, and this is where I'm starting to like him now.
Yep. I have one other note about Adar. He gives off a
Okay.
very Durza feel, like shade feel from the Aragon movie,
Ooh, okay.
and that was the only character in the Aragon movie I actually liked. Oh, him and Bronn, but Durza
Yeah.
is just like that standout character, and it's the same thing here. He just gives me that same feel, the same vibe as the shade.
He gives off that like creepy, awesome Morlock kind of vibe, which honestly, I love that vibe, and it works so well with Adar. And
It
in
does.
this scene, this is where I'm like, okay, the actor they got for Adar, he's killing it.
Yep.
Is he goes in, he has that tactic, and this is where I'm like, okay, if anything is bad storytelling right through here for everything that happened, like that led up to this scene. But
Yeah,
the way he just walks in, he is the boss. He knows what's going on in the scene. He feels formidable.
he does.
And that's where I'm like, okay, the show has made Adar feel formidable. And I like that.
I know. Oh, it's so great. It
And
was,
then,
and then
as I,
Numenor arrives.
which they did one cool thing I give major credit to the
Hmm.
entire thing with the chain, the way they just take that chain and knock orc after orc after orc like it's bowling.
I only have one problem with it.
Yeah,
How
what
was it connected?
yeah, that's the other thing. Is like I like the idea they're going with, but from what I was understanding, is like the two guys were holding the chain, which honestly that would have knocked them back too.
Yeah, and they'd have to have like a quick release clasp because then it shows the chain hooking into one of them.
Yeah,
Okay, it's in their hands. The chain is
yep,
in their hands.
and because that's gonna hurt. Because
Yeah,
imagine holding that chain as you go through is like again the chain bit is a cool idea, but in practicality, it's gonna hurt like hell.
yeah. So I'm taking
This,
physics right now. One of the
yep,
things we talk about is that the force implied, the force to knock those orcs down, is the same amount of force that's being applied to the two of them.
mm-hmm.
And so, them running into that many orcs, they would be thrown off.
Oh yeah.
100%. 100%.
Only way it would work is if it was actually tied more to the horses.
Yes. But then the moment they start going separate directions, then it goes bad for them.
They would need a release. Like that would be like honestly if they were standard bearers
Yeah.
and it was hooked to the horse that way and then all they had to do was lift up the standard and it would drop out. Okay, that could have worked. But they didn't do that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then oh my gosh, what the freak is with Galadriel's horseback riding?
I know. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Like
It's just
holy cow. I stopped because again, Megan's done horseback riding. She is very much I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I want your honest opinions on what this is. Like is this even feasible?" And and then we show it where she goes backwards and swings upwards and decapitates him. She's like, "No, there's no way that is possible because you do not have the right amount of force to do that. You're going against gravity. You're going against everything."
yep.
Like I was like, honestly, okay, this would be just enough force to maybe bat the bow aside, but
Yeah.
decapitate and just all that. I'm just like, what the flip? Why? It is
Yeah.
the stupidest thing in this entire episode, and that's saying a lot, okay?
It is. I had the biggest problem with that part. That was so dumb.
I
I
had to rewatch it multiple times just for my brain to accept what I was seeing was actually what it was seeing, just because it was so stupid.
mhm.
Just because I even says like, okay, if they wanted to do more badass move, guess what she could have done? Dodge to the right, get back to the center, draw a sword, decapitate, boom. Or even if they're wanting her to go on the side of the horse, she gets on the side of the horse, but not going upside down. I'm still saying just like side carry, get back her sword, jump off the horse, and slash. That would have been cooler.
Yep.
And that would have worked. That wouldn't have been weird. But what they did was like, aha, I'm an upside down bullet now.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. I am so right after this part I made a kind of comment about the lieutenant, the Isildur's friend. He
Yeah.
jumps off the horse and his helmet happens to come off so we can know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that just that made me laugh. He does do a good job. He uses one of their swords instead of his own though, which I thought was kind of odd, and sticks with it for the remainder of the fight. He never draws his own sword.
Interesting. I did not know. I saw that he was using the other sword, but I did not notice that he stuck with that sword throughout the rest of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's him using that when he kills the orc sitting over his friend, still using the orc sword.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it makes sense honestly where he already has it. He's didn't lose it. He might as well keep using it if it's working. Um, all of that. One thing I did have a problem with though is right after that shows Isildur up with the Queen's Guard,
Okay. Yep. Nope.
and then
Me too.
she's just like, "Go ahead."
Yeah. I thought it was
What?
weird. I thought it was weird. I was like, that makes no sense.
Why would you
To
send in a random cavalry unit when the cavalry's already engaged? That cavalry only is effective as if you're together.
Mhm.
Okay, not
It
only,
made
but still.
made zero sense. And actually, going to backtrack with the Isildur's friends fighting, that's the only time the fight scene, like a one-on-one fight besides Arendir's fight,
Mhm.
made sense. Because we go from Galadriel, weird, crazy horseback fighting style to a guy who actually jumps off his horse, gets onto the same level as orcs, and begins fighting them on their level. Sees a friend, goes over, helps the friend, and the friend, he's too afraid to get up, and he's battling pretty well on the ground, best he can,
Yeah.
until his friend is able to come there and help him. Like,
Yep.
that's where the fighting, I was like, okay, fine. Going from weird Galadriel to a fight scene that made sense.
Yeah. It was honestly really well done. Those two, fantastic job. I
Yes.
Yeah, I have no complaints about their fight scene.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Muriel telling Isildur, go. I was just like, what? How do you know who that is? Like, for the best of your knowledge, this is a stable boy.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
Like,
Arendir
mhm.
is the main general of this, and so
Yep,
she would know
Elendil.
his son. Yeah, Elendil is the main general of
Yeah,
this, and so she would
true,
know
true,
that it's his son because it's a prominent individual.
true, true. Okay, good. Yep.
That's
Point
my
for you.
only
Point
thing
for you.
with it.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that makes sense. But still, just where it's like, go join your father in the fight. And I'm pretty sure as soon as he goes off, it's like, and he's gonna die.
I know. However, he did do a good job. I thought that
Yes,
it was very well done, and it showed a lot of really good character growth. And this was the Isildur that I was hoping to see. I
yes,
love that he's not the one that saves his father, though.
yes. I absolutely love that too. Instead, he goes to his father's side after he's saved and checks on him. I loved that.
Yep. And that was the one moment that I had hope that Halbrand was not Sauron.
Same here.
That was the one moment, and then they explain what he says Adar says did to Sauron, and I'm like, oh, that's why he's willing to do all this. I thought it
Oh,
was dumb. So the chase scene, I thought was
okay.
well done, but then why didn't he use the spear as a lance and just impale the guy? Instead, he does the whole Galadriel thing where he gets all the way down to the bottom and trips a horse. Like that wouldn't throw him off the horse when he has nothing that's actually holding him on. It made
Yeah,
no sense and just is not
physics.
again feasible.
Yeah, and for me, I was just thinking, why didn't they kill the horse? Like that would be the actual tactical move. Is like, guys, come at you. You got a big old pointed stick, stick it through the horse. Yeah, that's when I realized that it's a Sealdoor's horse. That's why they couldn't kill the horse. The horse has plot armor.
The horse has plot armor. See, one thing I did love though is that Galadriel uses the same spell that Arwen does to help the horse go faster.
Yes, I noticed that too. And I was like, okay, there's the elven magic that we want.
Yes, I thought that was really well done. I really enjoyed that.
Hmm.
I
And and I loved actually the first time we see Hellbrand and Adar together, because now that in my mind is like that cements that's Hellbrand is Sauron. That just cements it. I don't want him to be Sauron, but he most likely is. I am
I know.
99.9% sure at this point.
Yeah. And oh man, that's so terrible. A horse would not trip over that. Sorry, that's just irritating. Uh,
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. Like that horse would have jumped over it or it would have broken it. It would have broken the wood.
it wouldn't even done that. It would have knocked it away because he's holding it on the end, which means he has no actual control of that spear. It would literally like
Mhm.
you're holding a stick, and so when it hits the tip of it, it knocks it to the side.
Mm. Well, here would be my only rationalization towards it. Sauron dark magic.
Okay, screw you.
That's why I said
I know.
it.
I do love that Adar does not recognize him, because if he had recognized him
Yes.
as Sauron, he would have said it.
Oh yeah, I love that too.
And I
Uh,
love that he's really like, "Are you sure you don't recognize me?" And
he's
then,
like, "Did I torture someone you loved?" And at that point, I felt Halbrand go like, "All right, good enough. I can kill you now." And
yep,
feel no remorse. And then Galadriel is now being the voice of reason.
I know, only to turn around and not be the voice of reason 2 seconds later.
I know. Break.
I let's see here. Oh yeah, wait. Oh, okay. One thing I did like that she said. First off, she's a hypocrite. Second off, I do like the saying that you can't satisfy your drink with like your thirst with salt water.
Hmm. Oh
I
yeah,
thought
no.
that was
This is
a
where I was
good.
like, this is very much where like, you know what? I can't say anything negative about what you said. I can just go, you know what? Needed, and even the tone. I was like, the tone fits. I was
Mhm.
like, for once, this is where Galadriel I'm okay with.
Yeah, this one scene was good.
Hmm.
It was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. Um. So then, yeah. So that was my last notes until they get to the actual torture scene or
Yeah,
torture
same. The interrogation. How about that?
interrogate. Yeah. Uh,
And which?
First off,
Mhm.
pronouns.
Oh my. Wait, what did you put down for pronouns? I think I missed that. I did not give a crap.
He literally goes, it's not exactly pronouns, but at the same time it is, where she's like, "You orc," and he goes, "We prefer Uruk."
For me, I'm seeing it as more on like he's just like I'm just taking cheap shots at this point. I'm doing everything I can just to take cheap shots.
But it
Prefer
was just that
Uruk.
thing. It's just the instant thing of these are my pronouns, and
We prefer Uruk.
we prefer Orinka or an up.
We're gonna get hate for that, but I don't care.
I don't care either. Uh, then let's see here. Oh, this one was great. So right after that, she goes, "Oh, maybe we should take those prisoners and put them in the sun." My comment on there was, "Oh, I know this one. I know this one. That's a war crime."
Oh my gosh, I did not think about that. Well, they don't have war crimes yet.
No, they don't. But that's just what it reminds me of, where she is just
Oh yeah, and I looked this up. Okay, the Morandor or what Morandur,
yeah,
that term is made up. They quite
Orienter.
literally, yeah, they quite literally made it up.
Yeah,
I looked online. I checked the Silmarillion. I checked my Tolkien dictionary. It is not in there. They literally made that up.
they did. And to be fair, so it doesn't go with Tolkien lore,
None of this
but
does.
I like his character.
Yes, I think is I love his character. That's why I'm like, you know what? I would prefer Urk over Morindor or Morindir.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing is that the what he's saying is the orcs or whatever is all orcs. They just call themselves orcs, and
Urk, yeah.
then the Morindir is the first group, and so they're more elven. They're twisted, but they're still that human side of things where he looks more or elven, than
Yeah.
he does orc, and that's what the Morindir is, and so essentially generals and things like that because they're going to be greater. Um,
Hmm. Like again, I know this. Just the term itself is made up.
it
Like
is. It is
they don't
stupid.
get me wrong. Tolkien's language is made up because he made it. But even still, just none of what they said is actually. Again, none of this entire series. This entire series is fan fiction, basically.
It really is. I've stopped looking at it as actual Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I honestly, and it's more just a fantasy show that takes place
it's
kind
a
of
fan.
like yeah,
It's a Lord of the Rings fanfic.
it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
And then just Okay, yeah, then him saying like, yeah, no, Sauron is seeking a power that's beyond his understanding. I was like, okay, so is he like seeking the power of the Balrog? The power that actually made the Balrogs.
So it says that he sought to craft the power to heal Middle Earth, and that it's the power of the unseen world.
Okay. And which honestly the Morgoths could be members of the unseen world. Like that was kind of my interpretation on what they were trying to do. I could be flat out wrong. Like I'd admit it.
Okay, so the unseen world refers to a sort of parallel magic place, and beings from the place can be invisible to those who are not magic.
Okay.
So when Frodo puts on the ring, he goes to the unseen world.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. And actually overall the interrogation scene with Adar and Galadriel I thought was very well done.
Yes,
Like I thought the scene was good, but mostly because of Adar. Adar carried the scene.
he did.
Although the thing that annoyed me the most is what the heck is with the tilted angle? Like
Yeah,
everything is tilted. Why? That makes me just have to creak my head to the side to just go, why?
yeah, yep. That's yeah.
And
It's
then,
really annoying. It's so that way they can show both people in the same shot, even though he's sitting down and she's standing, but have it be a close up. And I understand why they're doing that, but at the same time, just show individual faces and then show them together from a wide view. That's all you
yeah,
need to do.
that's all they need to do. They didn't need to tilt it because the tilting actually, I think, hurts it more.
I agree.
Because that's one thing I didn't understand. And actually, what I loved with this is Adar is actually more of a Sauron defector.
Yeah,
And it makes me go, oh, these are actually orcs who are trying to escape from Sauron. They're
yep,
trying to. It's very much more like once Morgoth fell, it was more on a battle of power. And
yeah.
this
He's one of
is,
the
and these
faction
are,
leaders.
yeah, and I love that idea. I was like, oh, I love Adar more now because he's someone who's like, nah, Sauron, no, no, he's not going to be the good leader. He's going to lead us down the path of destruction. I am freeing my orcs,
Yeah,
and again, that's where it led me to my next thought of Galadriel is literally Hitler.
I put she's evil. Hashtag make Galadriel Sauron.
Oh god, I was thinking the same thing because of the line after this quote that Adar says, and that's what made Adar the best character for me in this entire series. But no, because she literally says, and I quote, "Your kind was a mistake made in mockery, and even if it takes me all of this age, I vow to eradicate every last one of you."
Yeah,
Sounds very Nazi Germany to me.
it does. And the problem with that is that they've humanized the orcs too much for it to work.
Correct. And not
If
just that, but I'm adding this as an extra layer. Galadriel has blonde hair and has blue eyes.
fair enough.
That just kind of leans more into this. I'm just like, they are trying to make Galadriel Hitler.
But they're also trying to make Hitler a not so bad guy.
Exactly. Like that's where I'm just like, you're killing yourselves.
And the reason why it doesn't work, the reason why it feels like Hitler, honestly, is what I was saying, where they humanize
It works,
the
yeah.
the orcs and they dehumanized the elves.
Exactly.
And by doing that, you've made it to be more ambiguous, and which is what you're going for there. But then you can't have it be ambiguous and then have it be I'm killing evil things because you made them that they're not evil, but they are, but they're not. And so I'm just gonna kill them because I don't like them, and that's not what this show is about.
It's not, and that's why I love Adar's next line. He's like, maybe looking for Morgoth's next successor, you should look in the mirror.
I love that.
I love that line so much. I'm just like, oh, hashtag Michelangelo Sauron.
I know, right? That was perfect. I loved it.
Like I'm like, oh, we saw into the future. We called this early.
I know, right? So after that, it has the scene of them sitting together. And my only comment about any of this, because I kind of tuned it out, was why does Halbrand look more like Aragorn than Elendil?
I know.
Like there's shots where he literally you could have put Viggo Mortensen in there and you wouldn't be
It
able to
would
tell.
Yeah, you would tell the difference. Like there are points where I'm like, oh dude, they're trying to make Halbrand and Aragorn like the same idea.
And the reason why is because they're trying to do that whole thing of lead up that it's supposed to be Aragorn, and everyone pictures this as Aragorn, and then it's oh no, it's actually Sauron in disguise, and they're trying to do that, and I understand, but it's so irritating, and it's such BS that he's Sauron.
I know, I know. I personally, I love Hellbrand too. I really wish he wasn't Aragorn, and instead that it was the stranger who's Sauron. I really hope that, because especially if Adar is the one that killed him, he would need to be reincarnated. But no, I'm just with everything, all the plot, everything that's going with it. It is hard not to think that Hellbrand is not Sauron.
It's so true.
And then, yeah, of course, Galadriel being the biggest hypocrite, and then Hellbrand stepping in to stop her from doing what he was about to do anyway.
I know. And then okay, can we talk about the weird chemistry where they're like, "I need you by my side." I felt
I
it too.
know.
She's
I
married.
know. Yeah, she's supposed to be married at this point. And I know there are people that are trying. Oh, excuse me. I know there are people trying to ship those two. I know there are because, again, sorry, most of my YouTube like recommendations is like all the Lord of Rings of Power fan theories or whatnot. And
Hmm.
one of them, prominent among them, is, oh yeah, we're going to get a kissing from Hellbrand and Galadriel. I'm like, I don't want one.
I don't
She's
either.
married. She should be with another guy. Like I know that's supposed to be it.
Yep. Yep.
At this point, I'm like, you know what? I think Sauron got the better end of the breakup if that's the case.
I know, right? uh, yeah, that's just it's irritating me.
He got his own ring. He built his own ring to say "screw you."
That's
The true origin on why there is one ring to rule them all is because he got rejected by Galadriel.
did you just call Sauron an incel?
Oh yes, I did. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Oh, okay. Next thing on here. Sorry, I don't mean to jump through it. I'm getting tired and I want to go to bed.
I
Um,
feel like,
so the sword. The
yes.
sword is the new ring, where it has a thing where it's making Theo feel lost. He feels lost because he doesn't have the sword, and so just it's so weird that like what is the sword? I don't understand. It doesn't explain.
The
I understand
sword.
that it's a key. I understand that those things of it, but why does it have the same effect the ring does? Because the ring is sentient.
Yeah, like the sword. It's this entire season with the sword makes absolutely no sense. And actually, this is where, in one respect, I feel like Theo's character is genuine and or more stays true to his character.
Mhm.
On it was more the fact like he found the sword and he's just like, oh, it's cool, it's got power. I can understand that, whereas it should not have the same draw it does. And this is where I'm
Yeah,
like, maybe it's a placebo effect because he thought it was the same thing when he was handing over the hatchet,
yeah.
and which is where I don't know whether or not that's when the switch happened or if it happened prior to.
Oh no, the switch happened back when so right before they get there, right before Numenor gets there. The shade, that's not the shade. Adar
Adar.
goes to the human and says, "I have a job for you,"
Okay, that's when the switch
and
happens. Okay,
that's when he
that
gives
makes
it
sense.
to him. And then he
Okay,
takes off. We never see that guy until the end, and he rides away with the hatchet.
yeah, okay,
But
that
there's
makes
the
sense.
fact that nobody checked it. Nobody
Yeah,
noticed that.
nobody checked it.
This feels different. I wonder why it feels like this end is way heavier than this end when it was balanced before in the middle. The,
Well, then again, we don't really see anybody held it that has held it prior to until it gets handed back to Arendir. Because Galadriel holds it,
yeah,
Hellbrand holds it.
Yes, but the moment it gets back to Arendir, he should have noticed that this doesn't
Oh
feel
yeah,
right,
yeah,
and
he should have
he
noticed it.
doesn't. And
And
so
then
that's
yeah,
yeah, that's my complaint there. And then back to the Two Towers ripoff, the waterfall.
yep.
I didn't really care for the water. I love the waterfall, but the thing that I love the most is it explained the tunnels
Yes,
and
that
goes
I
through.
thought was the best twist.
I thought, yeah,
That's where again, most of this episode I think we had a lot more cons, but this was a huge pro for me. It was a great allure because again, I liked how we were guessing like, okay, what the heck are these tunnels for? It's not to protect the orcs from sunlight. That makes no sense because everything with this, like the orcs and sunshine, it's just so wishy-washy, so inconsistent. And now
now
we
we know,
see what that was really about.
and we see how Mordor became desolate.
How Mordor became desolate and the birth of Mount Doom. That I was like, oh, that is good.
I thought it was so well done. I loved that.
Yeah, like it's one of those few moments. That's why I'm just like, okay, huge pro for this episode. Huge pro.
Yep. Yep.
And then
Although I did have one more comment about this. Have they not seen Pompeii?
I know, seriously,
Everybody's dead. Everyone's turned to ash and they're dead.
everyone's turned to ash. That's where for me. Okay, I have two notes. One of them is just right before it erupts. Is on just like, okay, I love the fact that we actually begin to learn more about Isildur's mother
Yes.
and horses.
And horses.
And the horses are basically like geldings from Stormlight.
They are. Not
I
geldings,
just,
they're I'm
oh, what are they called? The war horses?
yeah.
I thought they were called geldings, but I could
No,
be
a
wrong.
gelding is a male horse that's had its stuff cut off.
Oh yeah,
It's a real
okay,
term for horses.
okay. That's why I was like, I know I've heard in Stormlight, but it could be just the fact that's a normal horse.
They are Rashadium.
Rashadian. Yep, that's right. That is right. Okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
then yes, I love how again I put in there the origin of Mount Doom. And then yeah, they did not see Pompeii, and apparently Galadriel can breathe in toxic fumes straight from a volcano.
I know. Did you see the preview for the next episode?
I believe this is where we get the war of the flaming hot Cheeto dust.
Yeah. Yeah. She just literally stands up. She's the only one alive. Just look at me. I'm covered in dust.
Look at me, I had some flaming hot Cheetos.
Yep.
But this is where I'm like, okay, I'm now semi excited for what is this? Is this the second to last episode or
I'm not sure. I think there's.
because I think there's two more. Because I believe there's 8 episodes, and this was episode 6. So yeah, episode 7, then episode 8.
Okay.
Which at this point I'm like, okay, this is where now we're going to go back to the Harfoots, go back to Elrond, and then finding the Balrog.
Yep. There's 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think this episode had some of the best and the worst. I think there are some really great things they did, some really terrible things they did. But as a whole, with the Rings of Power, I am enjoying the show itself more. I I think that they've brought things together in a way that I am actually enjoying. Like, I look forward to seeing it the next week,
and for me,
if only to rip it apart.
yeah, if anything, I'm more enjoying ripping it apart. And that's why for me, like if it was a scale from 1 to 5, I'd put like as a 2.5 to 3
Yes.
because they do have good elements. They do have some good ideas. That's what gives it the first 2 stars. It is very poorly executed though. I am still intrigued by these characters, which gives it to the 2.2.5. But they are not developing these characters enough. There is not enough info. There is not enough buildup.
Yeah.
Whereas again, like because I know they took like they're trying to go head to head with House of the Dragon. There's stuff that in Game of Thrones they did extremely well. Is even on the slow episodes where it feels like nothing is happening, there is still buildup. There is still happenings. There's stuff going around in the background. There is the political intrigue that this show is severely lacking.
Yeah.
And which this is where it's not Game of Thrones. It is Lord of the Rings. So this needs to be more of battles. This needs to be more on seeing great men fall. seeing this and experiencing and developing these attachments to these characters just to see them fall. That is what Rings of Power needs to do if it wants to. Don't get me wrong, it's got plenty of viewers. There's a reason why it's there's like 5 seasons planned, and I don't think there's going to be anything that stops it. But this is where there's so much they could do. They could do so much better, and this is where the score for it overall, it's not going to be very well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I will cement my, because right now I'm going to say my rating is still flexible. They could still pull something amazing out these last 2 episodes.
Like making Galadriel Sauron.
Yes. I would laugh so hard if that's what happens.
I know, right? That would be so amazing.
I'd go, yes, we called it. I love it.
Yep.
But I think that will conclude our conversation for episode 6, our review.
Yeah, so I guess that we gotta shelf the book for this time and open a new chapter tomorrow or next week.
All right, sounds good. All right, so thanks for tuning into Tomes, and we'll catch you guys next time.